Welcome back, everybody. First I get my zero by lowering my quill to the top of the material and locking the quill in place. Then I drop the table just a hair and move over to where I'm going to make my first cut. I'm getting my second zero by touching the end mill off to the second surface of the part. I rotate the end mill to do this because there's always one tooth that's just a little closer than the other. You want to take your zero off the higher of the two teeth, otherwise you will take off too much material. I'm milling the area to size where the slide stop retaining pin will hold the barrel into the frame. I'm sorry I keep getting in the shot. It's hard to find a spot where my camera is not in my way or I'm not in its way. You may notice there's a little piece of material left in there in the corner. I didn't have any end mills with the correct radius that I needed, so I left the material extra, and I'll file it out by hand. This area needs the radius for all the stresses it's going to go through. A radius is always stronger than a right angle because there's not a pinpoint location for stress. I'm taking the barrel lug section of the barrel and bringing it very close to size, but a little bit oversized. I hand file just a little bit and try to test it against the lug for size before I take it out of the vise. I'm measuring it in several different points to make sure it stays parallel. When I'm happy with that, I then flip it over and take the bottom to its final size. The barrel is then removed from the vise, and I start to fit it to the slide. I do this by putting permanent marker on the slide and then fitting the parts together. This will leave a black mark on any high spots, and then I just file the high spots off. This is done very slowly and many times, but it will get a perfect fit. After I was done fitting them together, I put the barrel back in the vise and start to mill out the feed round. It is left oversized for now, but I'll be able to indicate off the angle that I cut later on, and much of the work will be hand sanding and polishing. And it's time to make another cutter. This cutter will be used to mill out the recessed area where the bullet sits in the slide. The little nub on the end will fit in the firing pin hole and will be used as a pilot. I decided to just make one flute on the cutter because it wasn't going very deep and I was probably only going to use it once. I sharpened the cutter using the rotary shaft on a Dremel that was in one of my tool holders. This is the actual speed that I generally run a cutter like this. In this shot, I'm cutting off some of the extra feed ramp material. And I gave it a slight chamfer too. again, I leave a small bit of material in the corner so I can hand file it into a radius. Here's a comparison with an original barrel. The fit came out really well. I decided to toss this in here too. I'm starting to make a waste oil burner, but I haven't had a whole lot of time to mess with it. I thought I'd show it real quick. I made one a while back and it works okay, but not really amazing. So I got a commercially available nozzle and decided to try to do it again. This little bit of video is why I've been so busy this summer. A few viewers have complained about my videos not coming out as often and them being a little bit on the short side. I very much apologize for that, but a close friend of mine has had kind of a problem. She needed this apartment remodeled. She couldn't get help and I told her I would help her with it. And this apartment needs everything. I've been working on sheetrock. We've been tearing out old plaster that was damaged from water. It needs new cabinets, it needs new tile. I've done a lot of sheetrock work in here. In any case, the place is actually starting to come together now. I'm expecting to probably be busy at least another month and maybe a month and a half-ish. But then I should be able to get back to YouTube more frequently. I tiled all the floor in all the closets, painted them, and made shelves for them. Up until now, most of my work's been kind of tear up. I've been tearing off old loose paint and plaster and stuff like that, but this coming week we should be getting plaster done on some of the walls, and I will be tiling probably the bathroom, or at least starting to. I sheetrocked one of the walls in the living room also that she decided she didn't want to have plastered. When the apartment's finished, I'll post some videos of that too. Anyway, that's all for this week, guys. Thank you, like, subscribe, and comment. If you like the content that you see and you would like to help it continue, please consider my Patreon page. Thanks guys, see you next week.